Welcome to Therapists Say, the podcast where we talk about real life, real feelings, and the stuff everyone's dealing with, but no one really explains. We're here to make mental health make sense, keep things honest, and remind you that you're not the only one trying to figure it all out. Therapists Say is brought to you by Full Circle Therapy and Inner Wellness Therapeutic Services. Let's get into today's episode. And welcome back to another episode of Therapists Say. I'm your host, Mel.
I'm your other host, Liz.
Barry, do you guys have anything? No.
Never do.
Zero.
No, we never do.
People don't interact with us.
All right. Well, Sabrina sent you a thing.
Oh, thank you, Sabrina, for our chocolates.
All right. So I have a ton of shrink wrap.
All right, let's hear it.
The first thing I noted was that I said it was probably Esther Perel that said boundaries are to help a relationship, not sever a relationship. But it's actually Lori Gottlieb. Don't you like her?
I do. I read her book.
Yeah. It's in her book.
Really?
Book called?
Maybe you should talk to someone.
It's in her book. I think. Maybe not.
I mean, it's a long book, and I read it many years ago.
Right.
So.
And of course, you're not memorizing every quote. I don't know that it's in her book. I think she said it's in her book. I heard her on a podcast.
It would make sense.
Right. Okay. And then for some of the questions we asked, for people pleasing and caretaking, are they the same?
Yes.
Almost the same. No votes. No votes. Which was my argument. Like my argument was they're almost the same.
Mm-hmm.
Liz's argument was they're not at all the same.
Mm-hmm.
So neither one of us won, basically, because very similar got about 100 votes and minimally similar got about 30 votes. And not at all similar. Oh, that's her. Got about 30 votes.
Oh, so technically I won.
I guess. Not really. Because very, very similar. All right, you won.
Yeah. Better have it.
And then I have two more shrink wraps. So one, I asked my daughter. Remember in the podcast I said my daughter's firstborn, non-Hispanic.
Right.
I considered her a caretaker.
Mm-hmm.
She said, Alexi doesn't, well, she didn't say Alexi.
She didn't speak in third person.
I wrote her name. She doesn't think she's a people pleaser more than a little bit. Like maybe a little bit she's a people pleaser, but she doesn't really think so. And she believes she's somewhat a caretaker, but her love language is also acts of service. So that plays in. And then she put like the hypnotized eyes emoji, like which came first, like her love language. And that makes her a little bit of a people pleaser or a caretaker, or you get it.
Yeah. It's like the emotional needs where you give the emotional need. Usually that's the one most important to you.
Right. So which emotional need is that on the emotional needs questionnaire? Emotional needs expert.
I think it might be domestic support.
Like helping out around the house.
Yeah.
That's acts of service.
Maybe there's some overlapping. Because we're talking about acts of service.
Right. In the 5 love languages, acts of service is one of the love languages. And I'm saying that domestic support is probably similar to acts of service. Like it's things I do to make your life easier. So how would you define domestic support?
Shared responsibility.
Okay.
What are the 5 love languages?
Physical touch, acts of service, we covered. Words of affirmation, quality time, and gifts.
So where would affection fall in those 5?
Words of affirmation could be. Physical touch could be. I mean, we both agree the emotional needs questionnaire is more in depth, right? I think we both agree on that. So I feel like they don't always fit.
Right. That's why
they don't fit neatly, but there's aspects of like 1 or 2 of the emotional needs in a love language. That could be a whole.
Yeah, we
could have a whole
about
podcast about that.
Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Moving on. The only other was to check on Liz's people-pleasing journey.
Oh.
Has it changed at all in the 2 weeks since we did the podcast? Are you any better at saying no?
I haven't had an opportunity to say no.
Are you sure?
In 2 weeks, you haven't had the opportunity to say no to anybody?
I'm trying to think.
As a therapist, if I were your therapist, I would be like, bullshit. In 2 weeks, no one has asked you anything that you could have said no to?
No.
Listeners, do you buy this?
Have I?
Were you on a silent
No, you
retreat
didn't. No.
in the woods or
I
something?
think-
Like how in a 2-week
Silent retreat.
period can someone not ask
No.
something where you had no opportunity to say no?
Remember when mom and dad
Oh, God.
didn't want you to drive all the way to the burial and the thing, and you said, no, I'm going.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
So you said no.
Yeah.
You had the opportunity.
went
and
anyways.
You did say no.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
They thought she was too pregnant
To drive
to drive
to a funeral.
to Hialeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm already driving. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
That's kind of funny. Like it's less than an hour drive.
I mean, a lot of traffic. Driving Hialeah is absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
It is.
All right. So I guess we're done with shrink wrap.
I
So
said no.
You said no. We'll keep checking on you though,
Yeah.
right?
You have to write it down. When you feel like you didn't people please, write it in your notes app.
Oh, that's a
Right.
good
Or
thing.
when you did.
Or
Oh,
when I did.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Keep track.
When you
Okay.
failed at it.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll start a journal,
Yes.
a people pleasing journal.
Cool.
Cool. All right.
All right.
I have no idea today what her question is. None.
You're either
Wow,
you're either
really?
gonna
You
le-
don't know?
No, I have no idea.
She-
I have like, if I had to guess, which she would maybe,
Ah, do you know me that well?
probably. Look, maybe I'm going to write it down, what I think it is, so that then
Okay.
if I'm right, I have proof that I knew what it was.
Mel wrote it down.
Well, it's like 3 different bullet points.
Okay. Ready? So my topic today is, when does mental illness reduce criminal responsibility?
Hmm.
What did you guess?
I said you were either going to talk about postpartum psychosis, intrusive thoughts, or OCD.
Right. So I didn't want to just talk about postpartum psychosis because I didn't want it to be that broad, and I don't feel like that's the only diagnosis where psychosis is evident. And I feel like there's a lot in the media right now and a lot of misinformation.
I don't know
about-
anything about what's in the media right now.
Okay.
I figured.
I figured that's also why I didn't want to just do postpartum psychosis. And I didn't want you to say, I'm not saying anything because you teach psychopathology. So I figured you have a lot of information about this. So when does mental illness reduce criminal responsibility?
Okay. Well, I feel like there's like a legal definition of that.
So most people can understand that having a mental illness doesn't automatically mean you aren't responsible for your actions. But what happens when someone's experienced psychosis, severe mania, delusions, or another condition that fundamentally change their perception of reality? And at what point does that affect?
Culpability.
Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah. And then also, before we get into it, mental illness does not automatically mean legal insanity. And insanity is primarily a legal concept, not a psychiatric
Right.
diagnosis.
Have we said that before in any of our podcasts?
I mean, no, I mean, one time we talked about sociopaths and people really liked that. So I also felt like this would be maybe a crowd pleaser because, again, I am frustrated with the amount of misinformation people on the TikTok are trying to,
The TikTok.
are trying to spread about,
Mental illness, period.
right.
Okay.
Yes, mental illness, period.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Okay.
'Cause I don't know what's going
Yeah,
on.
I feel
on
like
the
Barry
TikTok.
is like lost in the sauce.
Mhm.
Or I have no idea what's going on TikTok.
Or the
And
news.
Is there
Or
a
the news.
current,
It's not even
is
like
there
TikTok.
a current postpartum
Yes,
psychosis?
there is.
Okay, I'm completely unaware of that.
Yeah, super interesting. So in 2020, I'm not sure if you heard it in the news, but in Massachusetts, there is a mom who unalived her 3 children.
I think I heard about this recently, right?
Right, because the
Okay.
trial is going on right
Okay,
now.
I have heard that.
Yeah, they're
Mhm.
televising
I saw something.
or
somewhere.
streaming the trial.
I tend to ignore these types of things, honestly. If
Mhm.
I come across it, I
Mhm.
tend to like just go right past it.
Right.
Mhm. Yeah,
So, but I do recall I have seen something recently about that.
right.
Yes.
So
About a mom being on trial.
the problem out of all the many problems that there was with that situation, one of the problems was that she tried to commit suicide, but she survived. So now she's on trial and the defense is trying to prove that she's not criminally responsible because she was experiencing postpartum psychosis.
Okay.
The prosecutors is saying that she was not experiencing postpartum psychosis and she just did it for whatever motive she
Okay.
had, which they haven't even established. And there's a lot of talk right now on social media where people are split, with some people saying that it was postpartum psychosis, and there's just very little help and resources for moms that are struggling with that. And then there's the other side of it saying that you should not do that, and the end, and she should be criminally responsible.
Even if she was
But I
going
think
through a postpartum.
I think we all agree you shouldn't do that. Right? And
Right.
I think if a mother kills her children, something is wrong.
I agree. That's
Like something like that goes against nature, at least human nature, right? Like there are animals that eat their babies, but humans don't. So I feel there had to be something wrong. Like
the prosecutors are trying to prove that she was fine, that she...
I wonder why. Like, just as someone who's really just learning about this, I wonder why people want... I mean, it's horrible, you know, and it's sad. And I don't work with kids because I don't want to see kids going through stuff, right? And I don't want to see them unalived, right? Whatever, like whatever's appropriate term for that now. But I don't understand why the only thing I can think of is they want revenge, like
justice
for the children, right? But I mean, something had to be wrong.
Yeah, the prosecutors are going in real hard that she was fine and that she was basically making up that she had any sort of postpartum depression or
psychosis.
Yeah.
But she killed them all at the same time, right? Because I've heard of other cases where parents kill their kids and they think it's sudden infant death syndrome, or they can't, like there's no way to tell whether it is or not, and it's at least possible the mom or someone has been murdering all the children. Yeah. But this was all at once, I'm assuming, like in an episode.
Right.
And how old were the children? I'm sorry for being uninformed.
It's okay.
5, 2, and 8 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
They're trying to argue that that because she planned it, that means that she wasn't under any kind of mania or psychosis. But I found something here when I was trying to do.
So she planned it. Like they have evidence she planned it.
Yes.
She sent her husband out. Like she Googled how long it would take him to go pick up food for dinner and medicine at CVS. So they're saying that she planned how long it would take him so she knew how much time she had.
Okay. And you said she attempted suicide. So her goal was to kill the kids and kill herself.
Because of a delusion that told her this is your last chance to kill yourself and the children.
I believe the voice was telling her that the only way she can kill herself is if she kills the kids first, because the kids can't live without her.
So she wanted to kill herself.
But she had to.
So she had to kill the kids
first.
So she wasn't leaving them to life.
Without her. Yeah. The kids are actually 5, 3, and 8 months.
This is a heavy episode. Like, what are we doing here? I thought
it is.
Ugh.
I know.
All right.
Right. I didn't want to like just stay on her case. I think I wanted to at least help educate our listeners about psychosis and like what happens.
Well,
like,
psychosis is delusions or hallucinations. It's being out of touch with reality. Like if I were in psychosis, I would not see reality even remotely similar to how you guys see reality. Like I would see conspiracies. I might think you guys are plotting against me. That would be a conspiracy, right? I would think I was seeing things that weren't there, demons and stuff like that, right? So hallucinations, delusions are the big ones. And then, but there's also disorganized speech. Like all of that is part of disorganized speech. Is like I say stuff that makes no sense. I make up words. I rhyme everything, which is called clang. Like there's all these aspects of psychosis. Or it could be catatonic, which has two meanings. Like one meaning is where I don't move at all, hardly, and the other one is I move like frenetically, like I'm just all over the place and arms waving and like it's bizarre. Like it would look bizarre. All of that kind of encompasses psychosis. It's, disorders like thoughts, beliefs, the senses, like I'm seeing things, hearing things, feeling things, sensing things that aren't there, disorganized speech, right?
Yeah, I think
so. That's psychosis.
Yeah, what bothers me the most about what they're saying with this trial in particular is people have a certain idea of what psychosis should look like or what they think it should look like.
And I think something I did want to intertwine with that is that does like true crime coverage distort our perception of severe mental illness?
Because they sensationalize extreme cases, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
I think for sure it does. Like most mentally ill are nonviolent.
Right. And that's
the
a big
vast majority.
Like most
even psychotic people, most of them are nonviolent.
Right.
Absolutely. Especially someone diagnosed with schizophrenia or someone diagnosed with DID. They're actually much more vulnerable to get hurt than hurting somebody else.
They're more likely to be victims of crime than perpetrators of crime.
Right.
100%.
And I think it's gotten so popular, right, to read these true crime books or extreme cases that are fictional and they're violent. And then people have been going on social media, like making these crazy theories that are not clinically accurate or even happen. Like, stop reading the Frida McFadden books.
In terms of psychosis, I think that's one of the big things where people think that if you're in psychosis, you're maybe behaving like you just explained.
Right.
I have had 2 clients in psychosis who have come to me weekly and sat in front of me, and it took me weeks.
Clinician.
And I was not a new therapist. This was in the last 6 years where I've had 2 clients. And it took me weeks, 2 weeks to be exact, I think, with both of them, to realize that they were in psychosis because they make sense a lot of times. And then there's like one thing that maybe you don't really follow. So then you go back and you ask them questions, and then the answers again kind of make sense. So then you ask them more follow-up, and it's not...
Right. It's not always evident. I mean, sometimes it is.
I always tell my registered interns, there comes a point when it hits you in the face. Like you'll be like doing therapy and you ask them follow-up questions and then they say something and you're like, oh, this is psychosis. It kind of just hits you. But it's not right away. It's not like somebody walks in, you have a 10-minute conversation and bam,
I think
psychosis.
Sometimes it is right away. Like, I walk a decent amount and I see a lot of homeless people for some reason. And some of them are mentally ill. I passed a woman today that was having a conversation with no one. Her hands were going. And then, to your point about violence, I'm walking toward her. No, I'm walking toward her. She spun around and went the other way. Okay. Like she was probably more afraid paranoid. Of me than I could have been of her.
Was it a homeless person?
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Yeah, but you see,
the smell lingered. Like even though she wasn't.
But see that person, that is exactly how they think that
everybody is
that everybody presents.
Right.
Because that wasn't how my clients were presenting at all.
Some are very quiet and keep their thoughts to themselves, but they're having them, and you know what I mean? But they don't, they know how to act relatively normal for a while. Yeah,
I saw something, and maybe you guys can help me complete this thought, because I can't find exactly what I found about it, that just because somebody planned something under psychosis does not mean that they were still in touch with reality. Because that's what I think a lot of people are also arguing, that because she planned it, she wasn't under psychosis.
As if the psychosis had to hit her at that moment and then she did it, and that's the only way psychosis works, right? Yeah, I mean, I do believe people can plan things under psychosis. I'm not that I'm into this case, but I'm wondering why she felt she had to kill everybody. Sometimes they feel like there's some kind of delusion, you know what I mean?
There was
attached to it.
No, yeah, there definitely was.
But the way you guys said it was she was depressed, and the only way she could do it was to kill her kids so they didn't have to live with that.
I mean, I think that was that's a very small
part.
generalization, I think, of what she was dealing with. She definitely had postpartum depression that was documented. They believe that maybe she also was bipolar and was undiagnosed. The defense is also trying to blame the psychiatrists that were involved that maybe misdiagnosed her and were giving her medications that either were making it worse or what, it's like a whole giant trial. I think what Liz is trying to lean into today is what would make someone
criminally responsible.
That's a tough question.
I know.
Right. Maybe we don't have the answer to that.
Yeah. I would like to preface this by saying I don't know that we have the answer to that. I think that's what the court does, right? Like the court, first, there's a misconception about legally insane. Like people think that's a common plea.
Rare.
Right. It's 1% or less than 1% of trials. Someone pleads criminal insanity. And that's not even like they get off for it.
Yeah, that doesn't mean, and that's, I think, another misconception people are having. Just because you plead criminally insanity, that you're going to get off. But like, it's very hard. And
I forget what I was listening to something recently where the guy, that was his plea, right? He was you're sent to a mental institution. Right. And he was there a number of years and could have gotten out if he would do the follow-up. But he was like, fuck you, I'm not crazy, I'm not doing the follow-up. And they kept him another 6 years or 10 years. I just heard that somewhere. It had to be on a podcast because I don't know where else I would have heard something like that.
There was actually a DID case that he did, I don't know if the correct term would say win.
Right, he was found.
He was found not criminally responsible because of his DID diagnosis. But obviously it's very far and but
and you still get sent somewhere. It's not like you get off scot-free.
It's not like you're just going to, it's because they're trying to say that jail isn't the appropriate place for those people.
Yeah, but I think that's where this case is different because I think now she's not in psychosis anymore.
Well, somebody with DID isn't in psychosis either.
But also, if it was postpartum psychosis, like there's this idea that postpartum anything is going to clear up probably eventually, right? Because it's a result of, I mean, I don't know that that's true. Like, I think postpartum depression, it's not even called that anymore. It's called peripartum because it can happen while you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Right. So because it can happen like while you're pregnant and after you've had the baby, it's called peripartum depression. I think that can be like, you can have depression the rest of your life still.
Right.
But for a lot of people, I'm assuming it gets treated and resolves, right?
The psychosis, at least.
Yeah. Well, and maybe the depression because it's hormonal, right? And eventually your hormones go back to closer to
baseline
pre-pregnancy. Right. So it has something to do with the shifts in chemistry that comes with being pregnant. So she may not have it anymore because of that. Like she may not be psychotic.
Now be on the appropriate medications.
That's true also.
Maybe.
Right.
And maybe she wasn't on the appropriate medications.
I don't know how long it lasts. Like that, like we don't, in the psychopathology class, we don't spend a lot of time on the peripartum.
Yeah.
Like it's a short.
Which is a problem.
We should.
Huge problem.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching the trial and one of the psychiatrists, it was the psychiatrist that treated her for, I think it was like 3 or 4 days when she voluntarily Baker acted herself.
That's not called that in Boston.
Called a Baker Act in Boston. It's called a section.
It's probably a number
12. Yeah. And the psychiatrist that treated her was a witness for the prosecutors. And when the defense asked her how many women she had treated that had experienced postpartum psychosis, and by the way, the psychiatrist has been like a psychiatrist for years, she said zero. That she had never seen a patient with postpartum psychosis, which to me means she just never caught it.
And that does,
or it's like it can be rare, or people just handle it like they don't want to go and talk to anybody, right?
But it's kind of like how Liz has a whole caseload of DID and there's therapists and psychologists that say
Oh, it's
They've
so
never
rare.
seen
You're never
Yeah,
going to see
I've
it.
never seen it.
But you
Right.
probably have.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying I missed it.
Well,
I mean,
maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, some people, and I don't think you would miss it in a way that would make you not a good
Incompetent.
Well,
therapist
you know,
or
I have,
incompetent.
I guess, my own self-disclosure story. I think
You
a
have
lot.
DID.
No, shut up.
Breaking news.
No.
It would check out for someone so invested in treating DID.
I guess someone's so passionate about it.
Mhm.
No, I think a lot of times doctors, physicians, clinicians, whatever, especially when we're talking about postpartum, they don't feel comfortable, or they think they don't see it enough. I will never forget, after I had my daughter, I went to my 6-week follow-up appointment, and they give you a piece of paper to fill out if you're depressed. And because I'm a therapist, I was like, okay, I know I am depressed. Like, I know I'm having postpartum depression. I looked at my OB and I said, hey, before I give this to you, I know I am depressed and I know I need something. And he literally looked at me and didn't take the paper from me and was like, no, you don't want anything. Like, you'll be fine. A lot of times moms don't even speak up. And I'm a clinician who I know. I remember one time I told my sister, I have every reason to be crying. And she told me on the phone, I remember where I was driving out of my parents' house. And she's like, no, that's what a depressed person says. Like, that's not what people say. I tried to get help. And I also have my sister, who is another clinician. That's that I also have my primary doctor, who is basically like another sister to me, who them two were like, no, you're going to log on right now and do a telehealth, and you're going to get medication prescribed because you're depressed and you can't continue to function this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And most of the population does not have.
Right. Most of the population's sister isn't also a licensed therapist, and best friend is a primary care doctor who also has education in psychotropic medications. Because that's a whole separate thing that they have to do too.
Okay.
So now I'm like riled up, and I'm like, yeah, like that people truly aren't even clinicians, professionals. Just are like, no, it doesn't really happen. You're fine.
In the textbook that we use in psychopathology, there's peripartum depression, but there's also the baby blues, which a lot of people get, very common.
Yeah.
But the baby blues and peripartum, peripartum depression, it's like me saying I'm depressed today versus I have major depressive disorder. Right. So one more severe, longer lasting, where the baby blues, you're getting woke up more, you're not getting as good sleep. Like, I feel like the baby blues are very common. I'm not trying to dismiss peripartum depression being more common than it is, or peripartum psychosis. I've heard people talk about peripartum anxiety, although I don't think that's a diagnosis yet. Peripartum OCD, where they become like obsessive about, like, I've heard discussion of this, which they aren't DSM-5 diagnoses yet. I think just peripartum depression and peripartum psychosis.
I definitely had postpartum anxiety with my third.
Right.
And now I want to know if it's in the
question
DSM.
becomes, like, I feel like right now we're teetering between are we not diagnosing enough, or are we over-diagnosing also? It's such a delicate balance. Like, because there's people out there that will argue we're pathologizing everything. Like, some of this is kind of normal. It's normal to be a little whatever after you have a baby. Like, you're not getting adequate sleep. There's the stress of a new baby. There's the impact on the relationship. There's like so many ways it's impactful. So are we pathologizing that by saying, oh, this is postpartum depression, right? Or peripartum depression. And then there's also, are we missing it when it exists? And I feel like there's no easy answer to any of this, right? There's
postpartum anxiety is
not
100% not in the DSM, and it's not its own diagnosis.
Right. But there's like sex addiction isn't in the DSM either, which it is recognized in other countries now. Like the ICD-11 recognizes hypersexuality disorder, I think it's called, which is basically sex addiction, but this country hasn't. But I feel like like we can argue both sides. Like I'm sure we have argued on this podcast that people are pathologizing everything. Like everybody's coming in and they're autistic.
Right.
Everybody's coming in and they have whatever, you know. But there is the counter argument is we're missing a lot of things that probably do exist.
Should diagnosis matter, or should we care about the person's actual functioning at that moment?
I would go with the latter. Diagnosis has its benefits, right? Like when I teach this class, diagnosis has its benefits. If we know the symptomatology, we know what works to treat it.
Right.
So diagnosis is helpful in that way, right? But also, okay, on the other side of that, I don't diagnose most of my clients,
Right.
but I work with them where they're at and what do they want and how do we help them function better.
Okay, this brings me to another topic.
Oh boy.
You don't take insurance, so you don't necessarily have to diagnose someone. Most of our caseloads are insurance. So, and we have to have a diagnosis, which leads me to one of the biggest things that with this whole trial was the clinicians and the providers that are having to testify, and they're scrutinizing their notes and their diagnoses and their
it's awful
treatments. It's so bad. Like I keep
it's like everybody's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
Literally what keeps us up at night.
Yeah, I sent a text to the whole team about it because we would have to defend our treatment years later. Imagine this case was from 2023. It's 2026 now. So 3 years later, they're asking in this particular appointment, what did she say? What did she do? What did she look like? What did you do? What did you prescribe? It's insane. So we would have to fall back on our notes. And so if we have no notes, then you just say, I don't know. And then...
Well, we have notes. I have notes. Even though I don't diagnose, I still write a note for every client, every session.
Yeah, but I've seen like when I worked at Women in Distress, our notes were one sentence long.
And they wanted you to do that. Like they wanted you to keep it as vague as possible.
I agree.
If they needed to go to court. Like they would tell me that because especially like these.
Right, because I've only been subpoenaed one time. Have you guys at all?
I can't even tell you how many times.
1,000,000 times.
Oh.
All the time.
I had to go as a registered intern by myself. I had to go.
She doesn't let this one go.
No, this is like I had to walk 5 miles in the snow story. By myself, a registered intern. Maybe I had been a therapist for a year, maybe. And I had to go the children's courthouse down in wherever it was. I don't even know. I had to take my notes and I had to go in front of like the whole courtroom, like awful. For them to then tell me, oh, you don't know what you're talking about because you're a registered intern. You're not even licensed. It was awful. I had to do that by myself. My supervisor didn't even go with me. Not my supervisor from where I worked and not my supervisor for my license hours. And they didn't tell me that I had CPH at the time, my liability insurance. They didn't even tell me that if I submitted my subpoena to the liability insurance, they would appoint me a lawyer and I didn't have to go alone. Or they would just go for me. I didn't know that. Public service announcement.
If you have CPH.
No, well, any liability insurance. Will
as a fully licensed person, when I got subpoenaed, I had to give a deposition. And like it's basically asking me questions. But I tried to talk the client out of using the notes because my notes aren't one sentence and super vague most of the time. And I knew there was a lot of stuff in there that he wouldn't want aired. And it didn't matter. It came out. And I think it is awful. I hate that we're subject to that. I wish it was more like priests. Like I think priests.
Confession.
Right. I feel like it should be more like that, honestly. I mean, I get it. Like we're getting paid and they're not getting paid. Maybe there's some other differences.
But I think a priest.
But it's really difficult. Like, because like, I don't want to walk that line. Anyhow.
But going back, my tangent was on documentation. And so.
And diagnosing versus non-diagnosing, which was Liz's.
Right.
Like, where do we fall? I would fall not like, I think in some cases, diagnosis is helpful. And I guess that's how I approach teaching it, right? I was reading a book called When a World Appears. And one of the researchers or author, I think she was an author, she was talking about when she first read the word depression, it relieved her so much to realize there was a name for this.
Yeah.
And she had that, and other people have had it, right? This isn't so unique to me. I think diagnosis is helpful in that way. Like when it helps the client realize I'm not crazy. This isn't a unique experience. Like other people have experienced this.
That's why, like, I feel like I'm pretty passionate about diagnosing, and I make it a big part of supervision with my registered interns. I think it's very important to not just diagnose everyone with adjustment disorder.
That's my favorite.
Exactly.
What are you talking about? That's when I have to
everybody's
diagnose,
favorite.
that's what I give. Because it's a temporary diagnosis. It means that this is going to clear up.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it means. It can't last more than 6 months.
Yeah.
Even though I leave it forever. Like that's
exactly.
That's what another thing came up you're adjusting to. That's my favorite diagnosis.
I know. That's why I brought it up.
Right.
Because
Okay.
I think I can't even tell you if I might go back and do some statistics on at
adjustment
this
disorder.
practice, how many people are diagnosed with adjustment, and I'm sure it would be more than half.
It's a great diagnosis.
It's a great diagnosis. I agree, but sometimes it's not just adjustment, and when it goes
of course
on,
past 6 months,
6 months,
right?
You're probably depressed.
No, it has to be one. It has to be something else.
Right.
Once it gets past.
I mean, I have been able to defend adjustment for a very long time with insurance companies because, something else comes up and now you're adjusting to something else.
That's what I just said.
Right.
Like,
but
that's my argument.
Yeah, you can, but most of the time,
right,
it has evolved. So I'm passionate about diagnosing because I think it helps people to feel seen, especially parents that are struggling with their kids and trying to get their children help. I think I'm very passionate about if they have a diagnosis, it's important that you know what that is.
Right. And I think the argument could be made that's what's happening on social media. Like people are seeing this. They're seeing like, oh, if you have these symptoms, and then they're like, oh, I have those symptoms. I have this diagnosis. And I was talking about this with someone the other day. Once you have the diagnosis, what do you do with that?
Right.
Like Lori Gottlieb, I'm going to quote her again today, says, insight is the booby trap of therapy, right? Like I got the insight, but what are you going to do with it? Like making change is what therapy is about. We are way off topic of your peripartum psychosis client.
In my defense, I was trying to make it broader, and then every time
we went very broad. We went to diagnosing, and we went to, again, social media. The benefit of social media, I think, is people feel seen. They feel more understood. They feel less alone.
I mean, it's definitely put mental health on the map, social media.
Right.
I think.
But the drawback is the pathologizing of everything, I think. And some people don't have those diagnoses. Like, I always give the example of somebody coming into my office and thinking they're autistic. And I'm like,
or even narcissism too.
Yeah.
I see it the most of like their loved one's behavior. And they'll say my partner or my ex-partner or my mom or someone is a narcissist.
Right. I wrote an article about it years ago. And like back when I wrote articles, and like everyone isn't a narcissist.
Right.
But also I was watching a woman, I think on Instagram, who's a researcher, and she said the easiest way to tell if someone is a narcissist is to ask them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she said. She said, like, they've taken how many items to like, and asking them the question is as accurate in diagnosing it as asking like a 20 question
What do
clinical.
they normally answer?
They answer like basically the explanation, I think, is the more important thing, whether they say yes or no. It's, I do think I am better than the majority of people. Your original question was what do we do with accountability?
And like, I guess question was, how do we draw the line between being criminally responsible or explaining something due to mental illness?
This is such a hard question to answer. I think we said it's up to the legal system, but I've read a couple of books that are high behaviorism, low free will, like that it's environment, and they don't think anybody should be held. Like they think everybody should be treated. You get follow me? Like anyone that commits a crime, if I were to murder you, right? I shouldn't go to prison.
Right.
Because that's not doing anything except punishing me.
Right.
Right? We need to figure out what in my environment, both internal and external, led to me murdering you, and fix that.
Yeah.
My thing was, if someone with schizophrenia murders someone, I feel like the chances of them going to prison are pretty high. If someone is not going to be held criminally responsible because of postpartum psychosis, then the person that has schizophrenia also shouldn't be held criminally responsible. What's the statistic on people with schizophrenia who end up
in jail?
Well, there's a statistic with
There's a
DID that I
statistic.
know, and the statistic with DID is 80% of men with DID are actually in prison.
I know it's high for the mentally ill. Like ever since deinstitutionalization, which is probably the 50s, I guess, like where medications were more effective and people were released from living in a mental health institution for their entire life. They were released and stabilized on medication.
right.
A lot of them end up in prison.
I guess at what point does a person become too disconnected from reality for punishment to make sense?
But what will we do with them? Like, let's say someone has a very severe mental health issue, right? And they commit a horrible crime.
Right.
Okay. We don't put them in prison. What do we do with them? Because to act like these things, like we have perfect treatments for these things is inaccurate.
Right.
Like a lot of people with schizophrenia have chronic schizophrenia. Like,
Yeah.
like they're not going to be normal ever again.
There's another statistic about that, no?
Well, the Bureau of Justice Statistics reported 15% of state prisoners and 24% of jail inmates reported psychotic symptoms like hallucinations and delusions.
So about a quarter.
Feels pretty high.
But our question is, when should they be held accountable? We are all accountable, and we're all victims of our environment. You could make the argument, if I'm an asshole, right, that I was an asshole because of my upbringing and my biochemistry and my
That's what I would argue.
Right. Okay. So, but am I still responsible for it? Yes, I am. The point I was making is we're all a product of our internal and external environments.
Right.
Do we have control of ourselves? Yes. But to what limit?
Right. Can we hold space for the victim, recognize the horror of what they did, and still acknowledge that a person who committed it may have been profoundly ill?
Right. You know who came up to mind is that woman that everybody thinks got away with murder here in Florida.
Casey Anthony.
Yeah.
That bitch did it.
Maybe take that out.
No, don't take it out.
I'm not
Because I
taking
think
that
this
out.
is a good point, right? Like
I followed that trial.
Where you were, I am. Like this woman has suffered. She killed 3 of her kids. Like she's never going to be the same. Like
The difference.
how would it not have been psychosis, right? How would it not have been? Right? Like, how could that not have been some kind of mental illness? Like, let's take it easy on her, right? Like, yes, does she need to be held accountable? She needs to get treatment. That's accountability to some extent. There's things she needs for sure. But then I think of Casey Anthony. She killed like a 3-year-old, right? Supposedly, allegedly.
No, allegedly. She did not. She was proven not
right, but
guilty.
allegedly she did it.
Allegedly.
She was tried for it, so allegedly her kid was like 3, I think, right?
She was so cute. I followed that trial so closely. I remember myself watching that trial and watching the evidence and the witnesses, and I was like, there's no way that they're going to say that she's not guilty.
And then they said she's not guilty.
And they said she was not guilty.
Right. Okay.
Because of a lack of evidence.
What was the motive in her case? Because I feel like people are outraged. She was not held accountable, right? Like she got away with murder, according to some people, not the courts, right? I'm trying to be clear.
I want facts.
The courts found her not guilty, but almost like popular opinion, kind of like with OJ. I don't want to bring up OJ, but popular opinion is OJ killed those people, but he got away with it, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another one.
All right, but let's not, OJ isn't.
Oh, Liz is going to be like, OJ did it.
OJ did it. I followed that a lot.
Okay.
I mean, I wasn't born.
Okay, but
I
like,
did a lot of research.
She's like, I followed that a lot. She
Because
wasn't
then
even born.
documentaries came out like 5 years ago because of his like release.
All right, he's dead now.
I know.
Okay. So, but I don't want to compare him to Casey Anthony.
You didn't know OJ was dead?
Yeah, OJ died.
OJ died
When?
like a year
Google
ago.
it. I don't know. Yeah, like a year ago.
Maybe
a year
not,
or two
maybe.
ago.
I'm sure I knew that, but
Yeah, he
forgot
died.
it. Wow.
But I know I'm not trying to bring them all together, but people were outraged at Casey Anthony.
Yes,
and
outraged.
still are.
People have been arguing that of like,
and still are.
Mhm.
And I'm wondering,
I have facts. Hold on.
like, I'm not outraged at this woman. Like, I'm on the empathy side with
Right.
this woman, right? Because I feel like she probably was
Mhm.
psychotic. Like, she killed 3 of her kids. Like,
right, and
I
then
think-
tried to kill herself.
I think the difference is
what
that
was the motive for Casey Anthony? Allegedly.
Right. So I think the difference is that with this case right now that's still going on, they're not trying to prove whether or not she killed the kids. Like
True.
she's
Right.
saying,
She
yes,
knows-
I
we know-
killed them.
yeah.
Mhm.
With Casey Anthony, it says she was found not guilty of murdering her 2-year-old Kaylee because the prosecution couldn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt how Kaylee died or that Casey intentionally killed her. It wasn't a finding that the jury believed Casey was truthful or innocent in a broader sense. The biggest issues were the cause of death couldn't be determined. The prosecution argued intentional murder and the defense introduced reasonable doubt. Casey's lies were enough
Right.
to prove murder because then she lied
Okay.
about when she disappeared.
But what was the motive? Like, there's no motive?
The defense that won argued that Kaylee accidentally drowned in the family pool and that Casey and her father, George, covered up the death. The defense didn't have to prove that the drowning theory. The prosecution still carried out the burden of proving murder. That one, it was different.
So it was an accident.
That's they put in the juror's head that maybe it was an accident. And so then the juror...
Okay, but if it wasn't an accident, she drowned her daughter?
Yes.
On purpose?
On purpose.
Okay, what was wrong with her?
We don't know.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying. I get what
Like,
you're saying.
why does a mom drown her 2-year-old, right? Like, I get people kill their kids, and I get, but what is wrong with the person that's happening? We're talking about kids. Right? I'm not talking about I murdered you because, you're a bad driver and you cut me off and you smashed into my car. You know what I mean? Like, we're not talking about a fit of rage. I mean, maybe it is a fit of rage, but I'm just wondering,
That's
or I
the
murdered
problem.
you for the money, or I murdered, you know what I'm saying?
That's the problem with this case now, because the prosecutors are saying that she is just saying that she was in psychosis to cover up that she murdered her kids.
Out of malice.
Yes.
Like, she wanted to murder all her kids.
Right. Whereas in Casey was
I'm
saying
not
it was an
understanding
accident.
that. I'm not understanding. Like, I get adults wanting to murder other adults. Maybe that's my issue. Okay. But I don't get adults wanting to murder children. Like babies. We're talking about babies. Casey Anthony's daughter was 2. This, I think you said a newborn, like 8 months.
3 and 8 months. Yeah.
Right.
Had Casey Anthony said that she was in postpartum psychosis, which I guess she could have been.
The psychosis is usually something like they're demons.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I had a client once, he had schizophrenia. This is like 100 years ago in Philadelphia. It's when I was just a drug and alcohol counselor, but some of my clients had serious mental health issues. But if drugs and alcohol were the main issue, they would send them to us outpatient.
Mm-hmm.
This was all outpatient. And he had done prison time because he stabbed his 2 or 3-year-old nephew because he believed he was the devil.
Mm-hmm.
That's psychosis.
Did he get
No, he did time. I mean, he's a black guy.
You see, now we're going to go off on a whole nother tangent about race. And that's a wrap.
And money. And money.
And money.
And money. I worked community mental health. He didn't have any money. He wasn't white. Like, I feel like there are biases that exist in the criminal justice system. 100%. And he did time. Like, he did time. Like, he didn't get off mentally ill. And he had schizophrenia.
Dude, that's
like,
exactly
I was treating
what I'm
him for
trying to
schizophrenia
argue.
later. So, but my point is the motive. right? The motive was he was convinced his nephew was Satan. Like
Did he
some
kill?
kind of delusion.
He murdered the nephew?
He didn't. He stabbed him.
Oh, just stabbed
but he
him.
lived. The nephew lived. When I saw the client, the nephew was a grown man, and they get along.
Oh.
You know what I mean? He had done his prison time and was out and still had schizophrenia. But the point I'm making, right, is like if Casey Anthony drowned her daughter, like what's the delusion? This woman that killed her kids, what's the delusion?
Yeah.
Like usually there's a reason, a delusional reason. I'm making air quotes for those that don't watch. There's usually a reason, air quotes, that's delusional that they do that, right? Like they think they're going to suffer. They think, you know what I mean? Like this earth isn't the place for them. Like there's some kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what Lindsay
Right.
Clancy has. She does have one of those.
And I feel in that case, yeah, punishment isn't like the accountability, which is treatment. And, you know, I don't know, like maybe you don't have any more kids, you know, I don't know. There's some kind of accountability and like if I found out every time I have a kid, I go into psychosis and I think my kids are the devil and I want to murder them, then maybe I shouldn't have kids, right? I don't know. If pregnancy causes me to be psychotic, maybe I shouldn't get pregnant anymore.
But that's insight, and there's not always insight.
Not for her, there wasn't, right? I'm talking about,
Well,
we're talking about accountability.
Right.
Like I've murdered my kid, okay? Maybe because I have this, like my body and my brain reacts to pregnancy this way, maybe I shouldn't have more kids.
I know, but
I know that sounds awful and people aren't going to like me for that,
no,
but
I don't think it
to me,
sounds-
that's accountability, not going to prison for 20 years. Like,
I'm not trying to argue that it's not accountability. I just think that that's a part of insight that people with severe mental health illnesses like schizophrenia don't ever have.
they don't have the first time. Like if this woman's defense is postpartum psychosis, then if I have kids, we can't tell people they can't have kids. That's eugenics or whatever it is, right? We're not allowed to do that. And I understand that, and maybe we shouldn't. But there has to be some kind of supervision if I have kids in the future. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, I
like that's accountability. It's like I'm in addiction recovery. If this is a trigger for me, I shouldn't do the things that are put me at high risk of relapse, right? That's accountability.
So one of the main arguments with this trial right now is that her defense is saying that it was one sudden command hallucination that made her murder the kids. So then the argument is, can one sudden command hallucination without a documented history of delusions, she had no documented history of delusions or hallucinations.
That's what the husband also
beforehand, constitute a psychotic episode severe enough that someone loses criminal responsibility.
Okay. My question then would be, it's a command, right? Who commanded it in her estimation?
A voice.
God.
A male voice.
Yeah, but was it aliens? Was it God? Was it Satan?
She has
like probably she believes it's God.
Probably.
And she believes she's following, like God is telling her very clearly to kill everybody and herself. I mean,
we're gonna have to put a disclaimer on this.
Why?
Well, because of what I was about to say. I read that she kept telling the kids as she was murdering them to go be with God.
That's what I'm saying.
I didn't want to talk about this case.
A lot of delusions, I'm just talking about delusions in general, are religious. Religious delusions are, I would say, a lot of delusions. What?
No.
We just got so dark.
I know, it's been dark. I think, yeah. You're going to have to edit the hell out of this, too.
Oh, I know. This one's actually going to be hard.
Did you guys hate this?
I didn't hate it at all. I think it was a very important conversation for mental health. I think it was uncomfortable, and I think we don't have the right answers or the wrong answers. Like, I think it's just, this is a hard topic.
Conversation.
Yeah, it's a discussion. Right? We're not trying to provide the answer. I'm not somebody that's here saying I have the right way of doing it.
That's the point of this podcast, right?
Right.
Is
to have discussions.
To have discussions, to continue to have hard conversations
right.
about things that are happening.
I think what some of it comes down to with the people in the comment section on these things is justice, right? And the need to punish.
Yes.
Like we feel like people have to be punished, and punishment generally psychologically doesn't work.
That is a great way to
Oh, that's a good way to wrap it up.
wrap it up.
Okay. That was an answer, though.
Good job.
All right.
I mean, it just makes it feel better.
All right.
We have some sort of an answer.
Not an
Right.
answer, but like maybe some kind of closing to our discussion.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right,
Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Therapists Say. Mel.
Liz.
Joe Rogan.
That's good. Bye.
We brought OJ in. We brought Casey Anthony in.
All right, that's it for today's episode of Therapists Say. Thanks for hanging out. Hopefully you laughed, learned something, or at least realized you're not the only one with issues.
New episodes drop every 2 weeks, so hit follow and don't forget self-care.